Hi everyone, this is Ali. Once again, episode 84. I say once again as if it's a problem, but I'm back. This is episode 84. If I've got my math right, 83 was Kazi, and 84, we have someone I've been looking forward to talking to for a while. I know you have probably been looking forward to hearing from for a while. We have Maria on the show. Maria, how are you? Glad to
Hi.
have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm sorry it's taken so long for us to get together and do this.
It's not a problem. As I keep telling people, I am way more available than everybody else in the world because I have nothing to do. I'm at home, I work from home,
That's
and
amazing.
yeah, people are out doing stuff. So it's
Yeah.
always, yeah, the scheduling is the thing. But yeah, how are you? How are things? How's life?
Life is it's a fucking roller coaster, man.
Yeah.
I just cannot catch a break. If I'm not working, then I'm like mentally stressed, and if I'm not
Hmm.
mentally stressed, then I'm like physically stressed, like somewhere.
You're very
Um,
busy.
so obviously, like, since COVID hit, it was a little bit like I was in the middle of my tour at that time and I still had a couple of shows scheduled. And
Okay.
so I was a little I was freaking out because I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. Like, how do I survive? And obviously, I had savings because, like I said, I was on tour, so I was performing a lot and getting a lot of money out of that, which is how I earn.
Right.
But then when COVID hit, I was in the middle of getting a new apartment and I had to pay down payment and all that jazz, that stuff,
Yeah.
being an adult. And so then I kind of just survived my way through until I basically lost all my money because I had
This
to
is
survive.
what, March, April?
This is March till perhaps the end of May.
Right. And at this
By
time,
June, I was like,
you
at
were
this
in.
point, I was here in Karachi.
Okay.
Obviously, that was like the peak of like it was a pandemic, so like I mean, I feel like it's still a pandemic and no one's given two craps about it, but
Yep.
it was pretty bad. And I think to some extent, I had it like under control.
Mm.
But then in June, it kind of started going out of control. And so June to like maybe last month, it was like survive, 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 do anything and everything that you can to get your bills paid. And then I had to move out from the apartment that I had initially gotten in March because a pipe bursted while I was away. Yeah, I went
Wow.
over to my friend's place to just sort of like catch a break. And I get a phone call from like the building guy, and he's like, "There's water coming out of your apartment."
Wow.
So yeah, it was a roller coaster. Like these are little itty bitty things that people on the internet don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't show. I don't talk about that because I'm like, there's enough stress that people already put up online, and I don't want to do that. But
Hmm.
sometimes it's good to talk about it to give some sort of an awareness that यार
Yeah.
मतलब हमारी भी जिंदगी है हम
Yeah.
मतलब robots नहीं है हम हमेशा खुश नहीं रहते
Yeah.
हमारी भी मसले हैं. A lot of people think that like, oh, you're like this Filipino Pakistani girl living in Karachi, आपके अब्बू ने तो आपको इजाजत दे दिया तो इसका मतलब है आपके पास तो बहुत पैसे होंगे. नहीं भाई, नहीं है इस तरह का सीन. मेरा बाप तो मुझसे लड़ रहा था कि ना जाओ तुम.
Yeah.
लेकिन so like these are little things that has been really like lingering on, but thankfully I'm in a much better place now.
It's good that you mentioned that your dad was arguing for you not to go because your situation is sort of unique. It's not something that people do, just leave home. And I was like, yeah, isn't a vlog dala about being broke? And she's in this. I saw this interview you did with Dino, and she said, yeah, she broke. Like, just maybe maybe her family and her are like estranged or something because Pakistan mein aisa hota to nahi hai. But then you're like,
Yeah.
no, my dad's saying come back. Oh, it's fine. This is her
Yeah.
choice. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, like, so when my mother passed away,
Hmm.
I was at a very bad place 4 years ago. Naturally, like anybody would when they've lost a parent, right?
Yeah.
And my mom and I were very close, and I still feel like a part of her is with me still, which is why I sometimes will talk about her in present tense. I'm not crazy, I'm very well aware. But you know, when she passed away, it was really difficult to sort of just put things into perspective, and it took its time. I
Mm.
went into a really bad fall mentally. I was battling with depression. I've been battling with anxiety since I was 13 years old,
Right.
and I only realized that I had horrible anxiety problems when I was 17, 18. And that's when I like learned about it and everything. So for me to like physically push myself to do something, to get out of the bed, to like move, to make myself a meal, it was a mission. But
Right.
you know, and then I lived in Lahore after that for a year or two, and then
Hmm.
that didn't really do well because I was just somehow, because of where my head was at, I was just constantly attracting negative energy. And
Mm.
I really believe in that because I feel like if you surround yourself with the right kind of people, the
Oh
positive
yeah.
kind of people, the people who are sorted, the people who can help and guide you, do things, and like, you know, and on top of that, if you can learn to be okay with yourself, that was one of the biggest things that I was fighting and battling, that I can't be okay. I need to get out. I need to meet a friend. I need to do this. Even if it's like just go on a little drive around Islamabad, I need to do something. And that really messed me up. And towards the end of 2018 was probably the darkest because just went through a bad breakup and then started doing all sorts of dumb things, things that I can't even like put out. But it wasn't drugs, don't worry.
Oh.
I don't do drugs. But I was just
Black
constant.
magic. It was
It
voodoo,
was
wasn't
black
it?
magic.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it was just a lot of it was just a lot of stupid things that like any 20 something kid would do.
Right.
And it can, and I mean, I was just so carefree and like in a bad way that like I wouldn't even switch the light on in my bedroom. I'd be like, हाँ अंधेरा है तो खैर है कुछ नहीं होता
Mm.
मैं तो बिस्तर में ही हूँ. And that kind of freaked out my brother. Like he would come in to be like, yo, are you alive? What the fuck are you doing? Like, do you
He's
need food?
older.
He's 8 years older. He's my
Okay.
best friend.
Okay.
I love him to death, like literally. I mean, any sibling would love their sibling to death regardless, but Danish and I have a very, very special kind of relationship. So he was
Mm.
sort of, you know, when I started to notice that he is getting a little concerned, I was like, okay, I can't do this. I can't do this to my bro. I can't do this to my number one supporter. I need to get my
Mm.
shit together. That's when I decided that 2019 needs to be the year where I literally just find out what I can do. I lived in Lahore for 6 years, on and off, back and forth with Islamabad, and then I was like, okay, screw, I'm moving to Karachi,
Okay. Why didn't
and then it
why'd
just
you move to
happened.
Lahore? Was it at the Nescafe basement time?
Yeah, it was during the Nescafe basement time, and then obviously because Lahore is only 4.5 hours away from Islamabad,
Sure.
वहाँ जाना, वहाँ काम करना आसान था, you know,
Mm.
it made sense at that time.
Right.
But I'm not regretful towards maybe living there or having those negative experiences because then I wouldn't be thinking this way. I'd
Right.
be much more ignorant and
Mm.
arrogant, as some would
Mm.
say. But yeah, I when I moved here with one suitcase, um, and 20,000
Here,
rupees in
here
my
being
account.
Karachi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when
Okay.
I moved to Karachi last March in 2019, it was actually for a project. And I was like, अच्छा यार चलो टिकट के तो पैसे निकल गए हैं अब ऐसे करती हूँ कि मैं महीने के लिए यहाँ रह लेती हूँ.
Mm.
I stayed here for a month and I had no money, and the whole payment structure of my job, it's not like कि आज मैंने ये काम कर दिया और बस पैसे मेरे अकाउंट में आ गए. बहुत रेयरली होता है ये, बहुत रेयरली.
Yeah.
जो एक्चुअल तरीका होता है कि आज अगर मैंने कोई बहुत ही मैसिव ग्रैंड किस्म का प्रोजेक्ट किया है, एंडोर्समेंट किया है, जैसे मैंने अभी गुल अहमद के लिए किया है,
Yeah.
you don't get paid ASAP. There's a whole schedule. Sometimes it takes 30 days, sometimes it takes 40 days,
Right.
sometimes it takes
Right.
60 days, sometimes even 120 days. And that's all because of, these are big chunks of money that are coming into the middle agency, jisko kehte hain, then distributes the payments to the people that they've hired.
Right.
So it goes through a lot of like banks and like a lot of taxes and
Sure.
this and that and divides. That all takes time. लोगों को इस बात का समझ नहीं आता. मुझे भी शुरू में समझ नहीं आया. मुझे लगा कि लोग बस पैसे नहीं देना चाह रहे, मुझे एक्सप्लोइट करना चाह रहे. I had
That also
massive.
happens. That also
Of
happens.
course,
Sure.
I've dealt with that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then so and that's like another thing I want to talk about later in the conversation. But yeah, I had no money, man. I was sleeping in people's couches, didn't know what the
Hmm.
hell I was doing. Still like sort of like it was like the last bits of like my dark phase. I was like, करना है यार, अब तो कर लिया. महीने बाद मैंने अब्बू को बताया, and that's
How
when he was like,
how old are you at this point?
I'm
When
26.
you're
Oh,
26,
I'm 26 right now. So when I
but this is
moved here, I was
25.
24.
Oh, okay.
No, 24 going 25.
Right, right. Okay.
Yeah.
And so this is, I guess, age-wise, you're not in a weird place where you're trying to live on your own. But Pakistan mein aisa hota kam
Yeah.
hai,
Yeah. No, I
that
mean
you go
like,
through so much in
yeah.
like this compressed
Yeah.
period.
This is my third apartment since I moved here in a year and a half.
Okay.
And like I mean this place also has like like I said earlier, I'm all about vibes and energy and this and that. So when me and my current roommate we were apartment hunting
Mm.
after my last place got leaked, like the pipes and stuff. I was like, okay, because I'm moving out. And that
Mm.
time I was actually on my own. Like I didn't have a roommate because I was earning well for myself. Things were picking back up. But
Right,
then COVID
right.
hit, etc. So when I came here, initially when we saw this apartment, I was like, oh, perfect.
Mm.
This is where we're staying. I don't care. We got to make this happen. So, I mean, yeah, my dad was a little skeptical. He's like, what the hell? Like, है तुम्हारे पास घर? तुम क्यों जा रही हो? यहीं से काम कर लो. तुम्हारा कौन सा office है? Like, obviously, like, there's
Mm.
that barrier generation gap जिसको कहते हैं.
Yeah.
उनको समझ में नहीं आया. लेकिन फिर I told him, I was like, Dad, I've been earning for myself since I was 16 years old. In fact, I've been earning for myself since I was 13 years old. I understand the value of money, and
Mm.
you have to always remember that I am my mother's daughter at the end of the day. Like, she is the woman who's built me and raised me and bred me to face these things. If my mom moved out of her house when she was 25 years old, I can do the same thing too. And we can't cancel that out. And obviously with time he understood, and then he started seeing me taking up much more responsibilities than I was before when I was still living with my family. And my family is super protective. Like, I've been blessed. I mean, yes, of course, the foreign aspect of my family passed away, but my dad being a Punjabi, my brother being more Pakistani than I am, being the only female in my family, minus my bhabhi, of course. Um, it was all pure trust and luck from their side as well.
Mm.
I've seen a lot of my girlfriends who want to move out, who want to like do things on their own, but they have zero support, and it sucks. But at the same time, it's like it's a culture thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's not normal for people to have girls living on their own, and it's not easy when
Yeah.
you're living on
And
your own.
it's just not a thing like in
Yeah,
our
it's not a thing.
social structure or practice. But you've mentioned your family and your parents quite a few times, so I guess uh, understanding how you got here, it would make sense to talk about your
Yeah,
like life growing up.
yeah,
Like that, you said you've been making money since you're 13. I'm assuming that's from music.
yeah, yeah.
Or
Performing,
sure.
performing. I
Um,
started off with theater, actually. That's how I
okay.
started making money.
So you grew up in Islamabad.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was the situation like growing up? Like how'd you get involved in theater, music? How'd that progress?
So, like being Filipino, it's kind of our culture.
Mm.
My mom was very, very like adamant towards
How'd your
not.
parents meet? There are not a lot
Oh,
of
they met
Filipinos in
they,
Pakistan.
oh, you'd be surprised.
Oh,
You'd
there
actually be.
are?
Yeah, IHOP just opened up here at Khaybana Shabazz, and
Mm-hmm.
Filipinos working there.
My
You have no idea
reference
how excited
is
I got.
I grew up in Dubai, and the
Right.
percentage
Yeah.
of
That's where
Filipinos
my parents
there.
met.
Oh,
That's where my
really?
parents met.
Amazing.
Yeah. Back in
Okay.
85 or 86, I think.
Okay.
My mom was
Okay.
working there. My dad was living there. My dad, I think, moved there when he was a kid. And
Really?
my dad, yeah,
I
yeah,
should
they
talk to
met
your
there,
dad.
fell in love. So my father would take my mom's. So I think they were working in the same office building or
Okay.
something,
Okay.
and or something of the sort. And my dad would steal my mom's mail and pretend that it mistakenly
Classic
was delivered to him.
moves. Yeah.
Swear. And then I don't know. And then I guess she was smitten by him, and then they started dating, and then they got married eventually.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah. But music, so performing arts, I think I'll just categorize it as
Mm,
performing arts
sure.
because, you know, is a huge part of the Filipino culture.
Yeah. Definitely.
You
Yeah.
know, karaoke, dancing, food, all of that jazz. Like my mom was super adamant that she wanted us to have great cultural roots. She's like, okay, बच्चों को पाकिस्तान में तो लेकर आ गए हैं हम,
Yeah.
लेकिन
How'd
we
she
need
find
to
Pakistan?
balance. She struggled, obviously, in the beginning,
Yeah.
like any other foreigner would. But because my mom was my mom, she was someone who would not be able to sit down for more than 5 minutes. She
Mm,
just constantly wants to do something. So language barrier tha definitely because ammi ko to nahi pata.
yeah.
Like until she passed, even her Urdu was still tutti putti, but
Right.
she was one clever woman. She was so smart. She knew exactly how to get around her way. She started, we were living in this sector in Islamabad called I-10. I was
Okay.
very little. I think I must have been like 3 or 4 years old, or maybe
Okay.
even younger, infant. And so she was like, all right, I cannot be a housewife. I'm not going to be a housewife. That's just not how I am built to
Sure.
be.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So she started walking around in the neighborhood and started offering math and English classes to kids. It's like, I'll tutor you and I'll help you with your homework. And that's kind of how she got her way around. Then she started teaching martial arts in different schools. She was a black belt in martial arts.
Oh,
And
cool.
then, yeah, something I'm very proud of. Because then she started training me and my elder brother as well. So we were like her assistants. Yeah, so that's how she kind of got around. And she just constantly wanted us to sing on the karaoke.
Right.
हमारी punishment ही यही होती थी कभी कभी. Like
कि
it would
गाना
be
गाओ.
like, "Beto, sing this Journey song. Just you sing it now." And I'd be like, dude, mom, the song's so lame.
Right.
But then that's one of my favorite songs, Open Arms by Journey. It's one of my favorite songs
Mm-hmm.
now. So yeah, so that's kind of how it started. And then obviously she was she had a big role in the Filipino community. So she would host a bunch of Filipino events and just some cultural events with the embassy or at our
Right.
house.
Right.
She'd make me and my brother perform, sing
Nice.
little duets and stuff. And then one thing led to another. I started really enjoying it when I was maybe 10, 11, 12 type. I just really started enjoying it. That was the era when pop was such a big deal. Everybody was listening to pop songs and Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake and NSYNC and this and that. So everybody was all up in Destiny's Child and all
Mm.
that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
तो बड़ा मजा आया यार. That वो वक्त भी अच्छा था. Started singing in schools. One thing led to another. My brother actually ये मुझे नहीं पता how he got into it, लेकिन he was doing a play with one of our theater directors, Shasha Rabil,
Okay.
and this was for Phantom of the Opera, I believe.
Okay.
And
Heavy.
then he was one of the backstage manager
Okay.
thingy guy, one of those. इस तरह
Right.
का
Sure.
कोई
Sure.
उनका scene था. Then he went off to Mary Poppins. He was again working for that theater play. तो वहाँ जाके he met Natasha Humera Ijaz, who's
Okay.
also
Right.
a real
Yeah.
cool indie folk singer here.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like, why don't you get your sister to come and audition for something, blah, blah, blah. I think I might be even telling you this, very missing out the main details, लेकिन इस तरह
It's
हो रहा
fine.
था.
Sure. Yeah.
And then उस वक्त Lion King हो रहा था पाकिस्तान में. This is back in 2008, I want to say.
Okay.
7, 8 type. I think I want to say that. So she was like, I went, I gave an audition, I got the part, I was a lioness, and वहीं से फिर मुझे एक और offer मिली to do another theater play. I was, I think, 13 at the time,
Right.
13, going 14 at the time. And I was one of the youngest people to play a lead role for for Grease, the famous musical.
Yeah.
So that's how it pretty much started, man. That's when I was like, oh, okay, I'm comfortable to be on stage in front of all these people.
Mm.
And then, as you grow older, as you hit puberty, as you become a teenager, you develop certain interests. And then I got into punk rock and I
Of
started
course.
singing punk rock songs everywhere.
Sure.
And then my mom taught me 4 guitar chords. And then मैं फिर उसके बाद बागी बन गई ना, मतलब
Mm.
मैं अम्मी की स्पेनिश गिटार उठा के लेकर इस्लामाबाद के पार्क और रेस्टोरेंट्स के सामने गाती थी और लोग बस मतलब फिर रहे होते थे, देख रहे होते थे ये छोटी लड़की क्या कर रही है.
Like
And I would just,
busking, sort of.
I would be busking, yes.
Okay.
And I would actually, I've even been like kicked out of a couple of restaurants outside in Islamabad. ये हुआ है. This is
How do
actually
you?
true.
What's the situation like? So there's a restaurant, and you
मैं
decide
बाहर.
I'm just going to stand outside this place and sing songs.
Yeah. Sometimes I would do this. I would जब बहुत ज़्यादा होना शुरू हुआ ना कि लोग कह रहे थे यार आप यहाँ से निकले, आप जाके नहीं. I was like, okay, मैं अब जाके कुछ order करूँगी और फिर, you know what I mean?
Now
So
I'm a customer.
now I'm a customer. अब आप तो मुझे तो नहीं फेंक सकते क्योंकि मैंने तो कुछ आपसे मैंने ये drink order कर लिया है. This actually happened.
Wow. That
Yeah.
is amazing.
Because I hated being home. I wasn't like, I just hated being home. I was like, yeah,
Right.
because my
Yeah.
dad would be working, my brother was in college, my mom was working. मैं हमेशा अकेली होती थी घर पे.
Right.
From like, I'd come back from school. I hated school. I was bullied in high school and
Okay.
actually bullied throughout my entire education.
Okay.
And I hated school. I was like, man, people suck here. Like,
Hmm.
people are assholes. I don't want to deal with anybody. I'm just going to be in my little shell. So I started busking when I was 16, and that's when I met my best friend now. And she was like my first, she's like, I'm going to make you a star.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, cool.
How did
And,
people react when you were, by the way, doing the busking situation at a restaurant? How are people in the restaurant reacting? So the owners to khair, or the management's always super over the top.
उनको
But
समझ नहीं आया. Yeah, managers and like waiters and shit, उनको नहीं समझ में आया ये क्या कर रही है छोटी लड़की. 16,
what
man.
about
मुझे
like
भी
the
But
people
people
at the
were
restaurant?
enjoying it.
Okay.
Yeah, like they were enjoying it. I remember getting requests as well, and then I shifted it up. Sometimes I'd go to like a restaurant with more foreigners because I would know that, oh, okay,
Right.
इनको तो पता ही
इनको तो
होगा
समझ
कि
है. हाँ.
इनको समझ है. Not that
Right.
I'm saying that Pakistanis won't understand. It's just not part of the culture.
No.
It's just not
Yeah.
normal for a 16-year-old girl to be alone.
Yeah.
मतलब मैं taxis में फिरती थी अकेली, right? Like मतलब मैं इस तरह की थी. I was just someone who didn't care. मैं अम्मी को नहीं बताती थी. अम्मी didn't know this actually when I was busking in those days क्योंकि अम्मी आती थी ऑफिस से 6:30 बजे. मैं स्कूल से फारिग होती थी 1 बजे.
Okay.
मतलब स्कूल यूनिफॉर्म में भी चली जाएगी. So I would make sure कि मैं ये सारा कुछ अम्मी के घर आने से पहले करूँ ताकि मैं
Okay.
घर पहुंच जाऊँ. So इस तरह
इस्लामाबाद में फिर भी like ये शायद हो सकता है, but like maybe even in Lahore.
I've tried it in Lahore. It was a fail. I don't even want to think about trying it in Karachi because
Yeah.
again, it's not a culture. Unless
It's
आप
different.
सारे इकट्ठे दोस्तों के साथ बैठे हुए और आप वैसे jam कर रहे हो, that's different.
Yeah.
But if I take this laptop and I start walking down either Clifford में,
Yeah. I'd say
पत्थर
it's not
फेंकेंगे.
safe. Just
पत्थर ही फेंकेंगे
Yeah.
मतलब हमारे पास. बेशक अगर मेरे हाथ में टेजर हो या
Yeah.
कोई छुरी हो as a self defense weapon or whatever.
Maybe. Yeah. But okay, but it's amazing that you did this. So all the karaoke growing up helped with the theater and this.
Absolutely. It really did. And I feel like my mom has a huge part in my career today. I was a very shy, very like introvert kind of a kid. When somebody would talk to me, मेरी आवाज बदल जाती थी. It was weird. I would just like not be myself, if that makes any sense. So it was very different for me when I started making. उस ज़माने में ना YouTube बैन था हमारे
Yep.
पाकिस्तान में.
Great
ना
times.
हमारे पास कोई और
Yeah.
फिर बीच में फेसबुक भी बैन हो गया था
Yep.
तो मतलब बंदा कहाँ अपना कंटेंट डाले you
Yeah.
know that's why when I look at the kids now some of my really good friends now are YouTubers content creators influencers they hate all these names
Yeah.
but
Sure.
because they're very cliched and I understand why but
Yeah.
they are also the same people who will shape shit up for us मेरे से पहले with all due respect हमारे पहले जो लोग थे उन्होंने अपने लिए एक मार्केट टारगेट सेट कर लिया था which meant कि we had to meet that expectation अवाम के लिए जो
Hmm.
उन्होंने उनको किस तरह कहते हैं सुगड़ right is that the right word
Sugar sort
like
of
they
means like homely.
okay no like wrong choice of word Maria
Yeah.
wrong choice of word no so like they spoiled the audience in terms ke like you know this is matlab ke jab junoon ka zamana tha jab
Sure.
Ali Noori ka zamana tha people started wanting more of that but
Yeah.
then even Noori and Junoon at that time even Vital Signs at that time wanted to evolve
Hmm.
but then they were so restrained that they kept putting out the same things that people were liking तो वो मेरे वक्त के म्यूजिशियंस के लिए बहुत मुश्किल हो गया था
Hmm.
कि
Hmm. Hmm.
हम अब क्या करें अब हम एक नूरी टाइप गाना निकाले I love Noori like I've learned a lot from Ali Noor and Ali Hamza but I'm not going to pretend to
That's not who you
be
are.
that's not who I am
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
now when these people like you know Momina Alina Hayat all these guys Mustafa Babar Hamza Amin all these kids on YouTube when they're making their content on Instagram it's you're literally setting the bar high for everybody and in a good way in the sense कि आप सबको एक ये रूम ऑफ क्रिएटिविटी स्पेस दे रहे हैं
Hmm.
कि मतलब यार कि अगर हम कर सकते हैं अगर मैं मोमना कैसे मतलब वायरल हुई शी पुट अप अ वीडियो ऑफ
Her school.
her school
Yeah.
that's genius if I
Yeah.
did that 11 years ago लोग कह रहे होंगे यार ये क्या तुम you know
Which people said to her too, to be fair. In the
I'm
comments,
sure
they'd be like, why am I watching this? That sort of stuff.
sure
But
but they're
more
still watching it
people, yeah, more people relate to it than don't.
yeah
But we'll come to that in a second because there's a whole agenda I have with regards to the
sorry
music industry. But so now you're doing the busking thing and you're into punk rock.
yeah
Are these at the same time or are
at the
they
same time right
okay?
around the same time
So
really
how do you go from busking and punk rock and I suppose this is high school at this time?
yeah like junior high yeah
How does that turn into I suppose knowing the theater community and Natasha Ijaz, they're all musicians. They were musicians at that time as well.
yeah yeah
So is that how you get into sort of writing your own
not really
music, becoming a
no
musician?
because no not at all because this was the phase where I was like I don't have no friends. I'm all by myself. I
Right.
don't need nobody. Like, you know, like
Okay.
it's not he
Right. That thing.
shit.
Yeah.
That phase. That everybody goes through, I feel.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But this was like okay, so it all started when my best friend Afroz, she was walking around in this park. Apni matlab
She's the
masle
person who's gonna make you a star, right?
she's the person who's gonna make me a
Right.
star. I love her to bits, man.
Mm.
Oh, she reminds me so much of my mother, actually. Her work ethic, her way of thinking, her care, her love. वो चल रही थी and she's like, यार तुम बहुत fit गाती हो. मैं एक gig throw कर रही हूँ इस cafe पे तुम open करना चाहोगी? And I'm just
Right.
like, I'm sorry, what? I don't know Urdu. I was that dumb kid. I was like,
Oh,
what?
she didn't know
No.
you at the time.
No. We had. I
Oh,
was a
this.
stranger to her. She was a stranger to me.
Oh,
That's how we
okay.
met.
Okay. Okay.
So she's like, I was like, I have no idea what you just said. So that's how it started. I started performing in different cafes. Afroz would like, she was an event manager in the making at that time. She was just like, you know, as a hobby, wo events kar rahi thi, supporting the music, underground music scene in Islamabad. And, you know, she was curating different kinds of gigs for different bands and different musicians and this and that. Tickets bhejti thi. She would make a little bit of profit. She'd invested into another show.
Sure.
So that's how it all started. But then it all stopped drastically when I turned 18.
Okay.
For maybe 6 months, it all just stopped drastically. I think un dino mein, I think there was like most of the concerts had stopped.
Did you
Most
stop or
of
did the scene stop?
scene stopped,
Okay.
which then led to me being very like depressed because I was like, fuck shit, man. Like,
Yeah.
my work,
Yeah.
like I was enjoying this. What the hell?
Yeah.
And that was also the time I was realizing that, oh, I have anxiety.
Mm.
Like, oh, anxiety bhi ek cheez hoti hai. And then I was struggling with school, a lot of like bullshit things, like लोग बस अजीब यार, मतलब ये कैसी बात है कि तुम चीनी हो तो तुम हमारे साथ नहीं बैठ सकती, तुम मुस्लिम हो तो इसका मतलब है तुम तो फिलिपिनो नहीं हो, like इस तरह की bullshit बचपन से
Yeah.
सुनने को मिला.
You
But I was
know,
like,
I'd like to say that I didn't expect this, but growing up in Pakistan and the UAE around Pakistanis, yeah, it's shitty that it happened, but sadly it's not surprising. But
it's not, that's, yeah, I
I'm glad
mean,
you're here now.
absolutely. I mean, that's what I say. Like, I have no regrets
Hmm.
whatsoever. सीखती ना अगर ना गुजरती उन चीजों से, मैं पता
Yeah.
नहीं कहाँ पहुंची हूँ इस वक्त.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I stopped all of that, I went up to my mom one day and I was like, Ma, मैं नहीं पढ़ना यार, मैं बस music बनाना है मैंने. I don't want to study. I'm like, this is just not me. अगर मैं सब कुछ जो भी मैंने 2 साल में सीखा है वो खुद ही सीखा है, आपके थ्रू से सीखा है. Like, I don't want to do this. I just want to move on. And I want to make music, and that is what I want to do. And she was like, okay, take a year off and see what you can do in that time. But if you can't prove yourself to me, then I'm shipping you to boarding school because that's our deal.
Right.
I was like, okay. I was like, okay, fine, sure. But I had so much faith in myself that I knew that I wouldn't go.
Right.
And स्कूल को बता दिया, आज से मैं स्कूल नहीं आ रही, मेरा एडमिशन कैंसिल करना है, ये वो सब कुछ. बड़ी कॉन्फिडेंट थी मैं got
Yeah.
screw it all. And little did I know at that time that it would turn out to be such a great deal of a favor in my hands, because that was a time when Ali Noor and Ali Hamza approached my school in search for me because some video of mine went viral-ish on Facebook.
Okay.
And they're like, yaar, ye bachchi kaun hai? And at that time, they were doing a project with Fanta, which was that they were scouting for young musicians, singers, like between the ages of 11 to 18.
Sure.
तो मुझे फिर स्कूल से कॉल आती है and they're like,
And this is after
यहाँ
you left school?
because I'm like, man, यार, we could back up, bye, peace out. But मुझे एक हफ्ते बाद एक call आती है from my administrator and she's like, Maria, I need you to come to the campus right now. I was like, yo, I told you, like, that place not for me.
Yeah.
She's like, Maria, please try to understand. There are a few people here waiting for you and they want to meet you. And I'm like, what people? Like, what the fuck did I do now? I was a rebel, right? I was always
Yeah.
getting myself in like
Sure.
trouble, like ajeeb cheezein. It's too much of a censor type.
Yeah.
Anyway, very PG. But I was doing a lot of stupid, like childish teenage shit. So I was like, fuck, what did I do now? Like, I've like, literally been home 1 week. I didn't do shit. Then after I hung up on my administrator. Then she called my mom, and my mom's like, get to the campus. I'll meet you there. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay. I get to the campus. I find out that this band, Noori. At that time, I didn't know who Noori was. Like, I was this burger kid who barely knew Urdu properly, you know?
Yeah.
So, let alone the music scene of Pakistan. I didn't really know. I feel like when I was 17, 18, I kind of like didn't realize that Pakistan may be musicians or bands successful hai. I was so like ignorant towards these things. So, क्योंकि मैं अपनी जिंदगी में थी, like अपनी दुनिया में थी.
Sure.
So I get there and I'm like, who are these tall as men and why are there cameras here and what is happening?
Oh, they showed up with cameras?
Because they were filming every single thing.
Oh.
So I was just like, what is happening? And then they explained everything. They're like, hi, we saw your video, blah, 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 this, that. आप हमारे लिए गाना करें, हमारी performance है. Why don't you pick a new song, sing with us, blah, and then we'll tell you, and then this, that. It was like, I'm just like going through it because it's too much detail. But I went back home. My mom talked me into it. She's like, you have to do this. This is great. This is good for you. It's a big brand. It's Fanta. It's this. It's that. You know, Socho, like that was your chance. Like otherwise, do you want to go to boarding school? And I'm like, oh, okay. So then I learned Sari Raat, and that was the first Noori song that I heard, and I learned, and then I performed it with Alina Umer. I think I might still have pictures. I'll send it to you. Maybe you can
Yeah,
insert it
yeah, yeah,
in.
yeah. Do that. Yeah.
So and then a week later, Noori and my mom, they got into a plan together to surprise me and tell me that I'm on board for the show that they were doing. So they surprised me. I went on board. I got the whole full glam experience, the whole travel, the fancy bougie hotel living, this that. मैं अम्मी को साथ लेकर गई. I was like, अम्मी
Mm.
आप तो चले ना मैं तो. I was a
Yeah.
very shy girl. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's pretty much how I got into the industry, as some would say. Because like a year and a half later, Zulfi found that same video.
Mm.
One of our very, very close mutual friends, Kenny, who's a drummer,
Mm-hmm.
he pushed my video to Zulfi and he's like, यार इस बच्ची को check करो, she's very good. अंग्रेजी गाती है, मतलब
Yeah.
कौन गाता है? You know? तो
Sure.
उन्होंने
Yeah.
उस बात को पे cash किया. So then yeah, then Nescafe happened, and
Mm.
then shit hit the fan. Everybody really, that was a great season, season 3. And then a year later, Zulfi calls me. So yeah, fast forward to like all these years. I mean, I can't believe that it's been almost over 10 years since I was doing theater till now, that I've literally come such a long way. I've seen so much, I've experienced so much, I've learned so much,
Yeah.
that now I can say that I have some sort of a mark in this industry.
Mm.
But unfortunately, you kind of just have to do it on your own, you know?
Mm.
So, yeah.
So the Fanta thing happens, and then Nescafe. That's when you move to Lahore.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But I was a lot of back and forth.
Because
Um,
Islamabad's so close.
yeah.
Okay. And then is that when you is that around the time when you started uh like having your own music produced, like your singles?
No, 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 not at all, actually. That was a time when I was just doing Nescafe Basement covers.
Covers.
That was just when I was doing different other covers, like for live shows and stuff. All of like when I started writing towards the end of 2015,
Hmm.
when my mom was battling cancer,
Hmm.
that's when I fully was confident. I mean, उससे पहले भी लिखती थी, लेकिन कभी गाती नहीं थी लोगों के लिए. वो मैं
Sure.
सिर्फ अपने लिए गाती थी. But then that was 2015, after the all girl, during the all girl band
Hmm.
phase, when it was still in the works. That's when I realized, I was like, oh shit, I can totally write songs. Because obviously I matured. I was, I think, 20, 21. And I was like, oh, okay, nice. Cool, cool. Like, this is good stuff. Like, I can do this. This is. I started becoming more comfortable with myself
Yeah.
to perform, to um, write and share my story with people. And that's when I started writing the album for my mother, which
Hmm.
I still have yet to gain the courage to uh, record it and send it out. So that was when I sort of started writing. That's when I wrote Strong. I
Yeah.
was very, very lucky enough that my mom was able to hear Strong, and that, that was one of her favorite songs as well. And so uske baad, then I started writing more, recording more. Yeah.
Hmm. A weird thing to ask would be, when your mom passes away, how does that? I know people who've had parents who've passed away, people who are
Mm.
very close in my life, and it's weird, like, for other people, when, like, my nanny passed away. All right, I've known
Mm.
her my entire life. She's passed away. I was sad. A year later, it's like, yeah, my nanny, she passed away, and it's fine.
Mm.
You sort of get over it, or sort of learn to live with it.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've seen in my limited experience with people whose parents have passed away, especially people, both if they've had a close relationship or if they haven't had a close relationship
Yeah.
until towards the end, you
Yeah.
sort of it makes sense. You sort of carry that in a much deeper way with
Yeah.
you. So I was interested in learning, you've mentioned you had an history of like, recognizing that you had anxiety and that sort of stuff. And then at the start, you said that, you were in like this weird sort of fog. That's one thing that happens when you're depressed. It's just
Yeah.
like, you're just going through the days. That's happening a lot now with
Yeah.
COVID, especially when
Yeah.
people are home and just working from home. And
Yeah. You realize so much.
yeah, and also, every day is like you don't know, acha ek mahina guzar gaya, 2 mahine guzar, 6 mahine guzar gaya, and you're like, oh, what happened yesterday? Everything was different, and you don't recognize how time passed. How how did that affect you, especially because this seems to be at the point where you're starting to make your own music,
Yeah.
just at that junction, uh,
Yeah.
moving away from covers into your own thing, something that I would imagine, I'm not a musician anymore, but something I would imagine requires a lot of confidence because when you're doing covers, it's a song you like and you know that song is great and you can sing it and people will like
Mm.
it. But when it's a
Yeah.
song that you write, it's like, ye gana to, for example, just using the reference, John Legend ne likha tha ye gana to, ye to sabko pata hai. But this is
Mm.
just me, and who knows if people will like it, and that requires a lot of self belief and confidence. And I thought that. How does that affect you at that point in terms of your career, like in terms of your pursuit of music? Do you just do things just stop? Do you just say? One thing is that sometimes people just quit for a while. They're like, I don't even have to think
Yeah.
about this. The
That's what
other
I
thing
wanted to
is,
do.
yeah, but the alternative is people fully dive into something just so that they don't have to think about what just happened.
Yeah.
So, how did you sort of work
For
through
me,
life?
when mom was really sick, um, that was when Zulfi approached me for the all girl band. And
Okay.
I was a little skeptical. I was like, यार अम्मी बीमार है यार मतलब मैं
Hmm.
अम्मी से दूर होंगी अब इतने महीने के लिए हाँ I can go back and forth but fuck man I don't want to have any sort of like regret
Distractions. Yeah.
or
Sure.
distractions. But my mom, being my mom, she was like, look, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity you're getting right now. Something that Zulfi is trying to put together is probably not going to happen. And it's not going to come around this easily again. So you might as well go. I'm fine. I'll be fine. I'm not by myself. She pushed me to do it and I did it. And during that time, I did feel very disconnected. I was going through a lot of dark days. So I
Hmm.
was like, yeah, Rami se dur hu, etc., etc. One thing led to another. When she was getting really, really sick, I had mentally prepared myself. I remember it was 2015 December,
Hmm.
and I mentally prepared myself. I was like, यार नया साल आ रहा है इस साल में तो कुछ भी हो सकता है. She passed away 2016 August. So till August, it was pretty much mentally preparation.
Yeah.
I was still gigging and touring. That was when the all girl band came out. We blew up massively. I knew that it would go thoda bada, but like itna bada
Yeah.
nahi
Yeah.
tha zehn mein. So I was dealing with that, going through, my own struggles with my mom being really sick. And, you know, I got to a point where I was like, okay, ये all girl band सारा खत्म हो जाए और फिर मैं ब्रेक लूंगी अम्मी के साथ रहूंगी ब्रेक लिया मैंने अम्मी फिर unfortunately obviously she passed and 40 दिन के लिए I was like चलो वो जो 40वां वाला पीरियड जो चलता है वो I was dealing with that. I was figuring out all her stuff and then कोई like a week later after the 40वां they got a call from Levi's and they're like, we want you to perform. We have this sort of a thing, this sort of a that. तो आप पैसे करें आप आ जाएं मैंने मना कर दिया था पहले राउंड पे I was like यार नहीं I'm dealing with this I
Yeah.
can't and then they're like नहीं they came back again this was in September I was like you know what fuck it I'll just do it sure called up my friend at that time Sanya I was like hey man I'm doing this do you want to come with me and perform with me I think it'll be cool if you could back me up on stage
Right.
I wasn't meant to sing strong that night. They had asked me to sing an original, but I was going to sing something else that I had specifically wrote for that show.
Hmm.
But because I wasn't ready to sing strong,
Right.
so
It's a very heavy song.
It is quite a heavy song.
especially
And
so
Sanya,
close to, your mom's
yeah,
actual passing.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so Sanya actually at that time, bless her, I'm really grateful for her to advise me to do this. And she was like, "Yo, you gotta sing strong, man. Like that's a dope ass song."
Mhm.
And I did it. I sang it, and when I sang it, you can tell clearly on the video. Like, 50 din हुए थे सिर्फ. So you can tell clearly in the video that whatever the way I sang it then, I can't ever sing it the same ever.
Mhm.
And I've tried multiple times. For me, Strong is one of those songs that I don't need to rehearse. It just comes out,
Yeah,
and
it's part of you.
it became such a great hit that it just opened up so many doors for me. I mean, I started getting connected with people all around the world. People from India, people from Bangladesh, people from Nepal, people from Canada, America, England, you name it, dude. Like everywhere. Like बेशक अगर वो पाकिस्तानी ही हो या देसी ही हो, उन्होंने मेरा गाना सुना है. उन्होंने
Mm.
मुझे खुद ही बोला. You know what? To me, the day I decided that I'm going to take writing very, very seriously was the day when I got an email from a fellow fan who was like, dude, your song Strong has helped me cope with this thing that I'm going through, and I cannot be more thankful enough. I can't even imagine I couldn't imagine what you must have been going through until I had to deal with my problems and I heard this song and it's helped me. For me, that's priceless.
Yeah,
For me, that's like, I mean, इतने लोग कह रहे थे यार मारिया तुम्हारा song hit हो गया तुम तो अमीर हो गई होगी, and I'm like, no dude, like
that's not the point.
literally that's not the fucking point, man.
Yeah,
Like अगर
yeah,
पैसे के लिए बनाना हो तो मैं भी कुछ लाइक झुमका शुमका टाइप गाना निकाल लेती
sure.
स्लीवलेस पहन लेती ये लो क्रॉप टॉप ये लो like I would have been doing that type of shit if I wanted
Yeah,
instant fame, instant money. I don't believe in that. For
yeah.
me, art is a very sensitive thing, and even professionalism is a very sensitive thing because that's who my mom was, and it is my duty to take that legacy on and pass it on to my kids as well, you know?
I sort of noticed that, especially with the way we dealt with the scheduling for this episode.
Yeah.
Because, like, I talk to a lot of people, just as like an aside. Now it's about me because I can't let any episode go without. We talk to a lot of people because a big part of the show is getting guests, and everyone's interested in hearing from famous people because they usually just do whatever they're doing, and you don't get to hear
Yeah.
about their story, their life, their process, their
Yeah.
struggles. So
Yeah.
that's also a lot of who I try to speak to, and
Yeah.
like people just flake and
Yeah.
they're just like, "Hi, yaar, kuch ho gaya. I'll let you know." And I'm always extra chill. I'm like, "Yeah, khair, bata dena." They're gone.
Yeah.
अब मैं कब
Yeah.
तक पीछे पड़ता रहा हूँ मैं कब तक
Yeah.
and the thing I told the other boys also who are part of the show is that now what Rizwan's a photographer, he does portraits for people, just show up at a cafe, I'll take your picture, and people are like, yeah ji Rizwan hamara naam likh lein, vanished, never show up, and he's sitting at a cafe for like 3 hours waiting for 10 people, 4 show up,
It's horrible.
and everyone's like, हाँ यार वो traffic में फंस गया था 3 घंटे कौन सा traffic था ये,
Yeah.
and
I mean, yeah, no, that is work ethic. I cannot even begin
yeah.
to
So what I
stress
was
over.
just to finish that, I was like, I messaged them yesterday, and I'm like, bro, it's such a change that this person, she's just saying shit like, I mean, you have a lot of followers, you get a lot of messages, you don't have to tell me that you're sorry you got back late. It's just not necessary because I'm not looking for that. But the
Yeah.
fact that you do and that
Yeah.
you're trying to schedule something and you're letting me
Yeah.
know and there's updates, people don't do this. And
People don't do that.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and that you do is such a change for like such a small network setup as ours. um it's much bigger than this is something I'm sure you're just doing because that's just the way you approach this. You're not saying I have to be professional, but this is just the way you operate. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if anyone hasn't said this to you. It's really great that you do things this way.
Thanks, man. I
Yeah.
feel like the little things, like for me, if someone comes up to me and goes like, "Oh man, I love your music," that's
Mm.
big.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like I want to know, like, I'm like, do I need to be more professional? Like, do we need to get on another level? You tell me right now, you know? Like, I'm that kind of a person. I just, जब एक मीटिंग पे अगर आप मुझे बुला रहे हो, फर्ज करें उस मीटिंग में अगर फ्लफ ही करना है, बातें फ्लफ हो, ठीक है, my partner and I we actually say fluff, like there's always that fluff period,
Right.
पूरा घंटा फ्लफ होगा
Yeah,
और
the small
आखिरी 10
talk.
मिनट काम का
Yeah.
बात होगा.
Yeah.
I hate that. मैं तो
Yeah.
शुरू में ही बैठ देती हूँ. मैं बैठती हूँ and I'm like, all right, I have 45 minutes, whatever you can put in that 45 minutes,
Yeah.
wrap it, because at 3:45 I have to go and be at a place at 4 p.m. Even if I don't have to be anywhere at 4 p.m. मतलब भाई ये
It's
मेरा
needed.
वो है.
Pakistan में ज़रूरी है because I think it's
And
like a
yeah,
small talk takalluf जो है ना, that's like this part of our culture that's
हाँ,
so unnecessary.
मुझे नहीं जानना कि तुम्हारे बिल्ली को क्या हुआ है आज सुबह. मेरे
Yeah.
बिल्ली को भी 10 और चीजें हुई हैं, but you don't see me fucking talking about it. You know, like that's just how it is. And like
Yeah.
I just really I really take work ethic very, very seriously. But yeah, coming back to dealing with the loss, it was of course hard, and I thought that okay, many a strong galia ho gaya viral, great job, awesome,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
out. But I wasn't able to. That's when Nishat Linen approached me for their winter campaign at that time. A week later, I'm basically on a flight to Nepal for a shoot. So work just started kicking. I never really got the chance to take it all in and actually deal with it in my own pace, in my own time, which I feel was what brought out the depression in the following years after, because I never really fully addressed it within myself that ये एक चीज हुआ है, इसको मुझे seriously लेना होगा. हाँ ठीक है, Ammi is not alive anymore, Ammi is not here, but I need to be able to accept it in a way where I can move on. And there were a lot of times in the middle where जब मैं कुछ नहीं करती थी तो तब आके it would hit me.
Sure.
So then I would like try to find other things to do ताकि मुझे वो मतलब मैं एक तरह से कह दूं कि मैं उस चीज को avoid करती रही.
Yeah. Yeah.
कि जो कि मतलब अक्सर it is very natural for people to react that way. लेकिन हाँ, अल्लाह का शुक्र है मैंने कोई drugs नहीं किया जो कुछ लोग करते हैं. मैंने कोई yo man मैंने ई नहीं pop किया यार.
Sure.
You know, I mean, my smoking habits got really, really bad, not gonna lie. I
Yeah.
just started smoking a lot, which is, I'm not very proud of it. I'm still not proud of it. Like, aaj bhi, like, before we got on, I was so stressed. I'm like, okay. And like, it's like abusing the cigarette, you know?
Yeah.
Like, aap cigarette ko jala ke aap side pe rakh dete ho. And then you're like, oh fuck, हाँ मुझे पीना है, you know, like that
Yeah.
type of,
Yeah.
that started getting very excessive. And I'm realizing now I'm 26 years old, 4 years from now I want to be able to just quit all of this and live a healthier life. I'm working towards it, change my diet, working towards being more active. I try to get
Sure.
8 hours of sleep. These are the little things to help me cope with this, because you see, when like the grieving period is never ending. I'm gonna
Yeah.
grieve till I'm, I don't know, 50, 60. I will forever be grieving for the loss of my mom. It's just tiny exercises or tiny implementations that you need to put in your life to be able to not get over, but to be able to
Learn to live
live
with it.
and work through. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, you know, naturally, like, my biggest problem was insomnia. I couldn't sleep. I was up all night watching stupid trash TV to keep myself distracted. Constantly out, you know. अम्मी से पहले मेरा कर्फ्यू होता था, अम्मी के बाद मेरा कर्फ्यू नहीं था, कोई मतलब जिक्र नहीं करता था. My brother gives me 1 a.m. कि यार रात के 1 बजे तक तुम बाहर रह सकती हो. Abu wouldn't really care. Abu would just be like in his own world at that time, at least when mom passed. But before, when mom was alive, it was like 9 p.m. I need you home. No more, no less. You better be home. और जब मैं नहीं पहुंची थी 9 बजे, अम्मी बाहर खड़ी हो जाती थी with her
Well,
martial arts Cali
that's
sticks.
the worst.
She'd be
Yeah.
standing out with her stick, be like, I want to know who the heck is dropping you off.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, Ma, it's just my musician friends. She'd be like, कौन है ये musician friends?
Yeah.
कौन है? मतलब तुम कौन सी इतनी बड़ी celebrity होगी? Oh, कौन musician friends?
Yeah.
So, you know, so they're different things. So like now, like, I try to get 8 hours of sleep. I try to eat 3 times a day. I try to, if I can squeeze it in. These past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I've been horrible. But Varna, my roommate, she goes running every alternate day. So I'd go with her. So I try to like stay active and this and that. Another thing that I like to do to help with like not just my loss, but generally my depression, my anxiety that has sort of built up after losing my mother and sort of like avoided to be addressed. I started doing this one thing where I change the position of my furniture around my room. So I do it
Okay.
like every month, every 2 months. I'll just
Okay.
like fiddle around, maybe get something new. Like this chair is new. I just brought this in this morning. So
Oh.
like things like that. I do things like that just to sort of my balcony outside, Karachi में नहीं मिलते इतने अच्छे balconies, पता नहीं इत्तेफाकन से इस building में इतना अच्छा balcony हमें मिल गया where I could set it up. So these little things, I sometimes I'll do a little gardening at my partner's house. He loves plants, so I go there, and when he's not around, he travels and works a lot. So I just little things that can help me cope with the shit that's going through my head. I really feel like channeling these things into tiny projects, as they
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
is really good for your mental sanity. It's really good for your mental health. And not many people talk about that. Not many people acknowledge that. People are ashamed कि यार सब ना एक मिसकंसेप्शन लोगों ने अपने दिमाग में ये डाला है कि आप अगर हमेशा दिखाओगे कि आप खुश हैं, आप खुश रहोगे. नहीं, ये बहुत गलत है. आप
Sometimes it's
नहीं खुश
worse.
हैं.
It makes
Sometimes it's
things worse.
worse.
Yeah.
It makes things worse because then
Yeah.
you're constantly in denial. You're shelving that issue that you have within yourself, with yourself, जो कि सिर्फ तुम ही ठीक कर सकते हो और कोई नहीं ठीक कर सकता. ठीक है, अगर आप अल्लाह मियाँ से दुआ भी मांगोगे तो अल्लाह मियाँ will be like, yo, you are not my puppet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you gotta figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I believe, I mean,
Did
if that was the
you,
case, yeah.
speaking of figuring it out on your own, another thing that people could do and don't do enough perhaps is seek help, like therapy and stuff. Did
I
you
never
do any
seek
of that?
therapy. No, actually. I mean, a lot of people have advised me, my close friends, they're
Sure.
like, okay, if you're going through this, maybe you should
Yeah.
seek help and stuff. But I always try to, it's a Filipino thing. I want to do
Okay.
shit by myself. I want to do it myself. If there's
Sure.
a problem, I gotta find the root. So a lot of reading, a lot of researching. Obviously, you can't cure yourself. हाँ, कभी कभार मैं भी फक हो जाती हूँ यार. मतलब 2 दिन पहले मैं बैठी हुई थी, मेरे दोस्त मुझे देखने कहते मारिया हम अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, तुम क्या क्या हुआ.
Yeah.
एंड आई एम लाइक यार गाइस, जब तुम लोग अपने घर से निकलोगे ना, अपने अम्मी अब्बू के घर से, फिर मैं तुम्हें बताऊंगी, फिर तब पूछना. एंड दे लाइक व्हाट डू यू मीन. सो या आई वाज like like इस तरह के it messes me up, and that's when I genuinely feel like, okay, fuck it, I can't do it on my own. I think it's just best I should go and seek help. But it's just this will that I have, my power of will inside within me, that I just cannot. अगर ये battle अपने आप के साथ है ना, I can't lose myself, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
So I never really seeked help. I decided to do it the much longer, cost-free way, which is
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Because
which
therapy is
is
not cheap in Pakistan.
it's not cheap, dude. It's not
Yeah.
cheap. Trust me, एक दफा मैं बहुत fuck हो गई थी. I was fighting with my ex-boyfriend. I was like, dude, you suck. And like full हम लड़ रहे थे, and that was a very toxic relationship. But I just went online. I'm like, online therapy. I need online therapy. And then I'm like, what? $100 for an hour? Fuck that. No, thank you. I'm fine.
Yeah.
So things like that. Like, I'm like, okay, Nico, I believe that everything has multiple solutions. It's how you curate them.
Okay.
I don't believe that अगर मेरे पास 1500 रुपए 1 घंटे के लिए नहीं है तो मैं फिर थेरेपी नहीं करूंगी. I don't believe that. I will
Okay.
find another way
Sure.
to make that work for me. बेशक अगर if it's to go to the therapist or to research online, heaven's sake, we live in a digital age. Every single thing is
Yeah.
online. Every answer, every solution. Mr. Google is like out there,
Sure.
He's helping us all. So that's the way I go about it. These little things really help, and not just with a loss, with anything.
With anything. And then when do you move to Karachi and all this? 2 years after Approximately 2019 is when you said you moved
2019
to
March.
Karachi.
Yeah, yeah,
March
yeah.
2019. Uh, why did you move to Karachi?
I was just really upset with myself. I wasn't happy. I wasn't it was a time where I kind of just thought that fuck it, I don't want to do music anymore. People aren't appreciative towards
Okay.
me. I wasn't getting gigs. I was constantly surrounded with people who were giving me false promises that हाँ मैं तुम्हारे लिए ये कर दूंगा ये कर दूंगी नहीं हुआ. That was also the time I found out that I've been ripped off over uh 900,000 rupees worth of cash that people have made off of me without my knowledge. And
Wow.
I was in a very, very dark part in my career, in my life, in my personal life. Everything was falling apart. I was losing money, I was losing friends. I dumped my ex. I decided to move to, sorry, I decided to visit Dubai. My best friend, who, she lives there. um, there was a lot of things that was going down, and I was just not happy. I was not in a good place.
Hmm.
So January 2019 was when I did this little endorsement for Maria B. I was the face of one of their perfumes,
Okay.
which was sort of like turning everything around slowly for me. Because then that was the first time I came to Karachi as well for a show, and that's where I met a bunch of really cool people who I still work with now. Um, they were like, Karachi's the hub. Like, this is where the work's at. If you want to make a couple bucks, then you should consider coming here more often. I was like, okay, but I don't know anybody here. Like, how do I do this?
Hmm.
So then fast forward March को फिर एक जैसे previously बोला था कि there was a project here जिसके लिए मैं आई, and we did the shoot, etc. Then, a bunch of the people around me at that time were like, you should really consider this. Like, stay back 1 month and see how you feel, and then make your decision.
Hmm.
And I stayed back. बहुत धक्के खाए हैं लोगों के घरों में, deliberately घुसना, कहना यार प्लीज एक रात तो सोने दो यार, मुझे बस एक सोफा चाहिए और एक बाथरूम चाहिए बस यार प्लीज.
Hmm.
And I've literally did that for 1 month. I was bouncing off from people's couches. uh, I never really looked at it as like, oh, मैं इतनी बेचारी हूँ, कोई मेरी मदद नहीं कर रहा, because I was very well aware at that time that भाई सब कुछ खुद ही करना है, अब अगर
Yeah.
करना है तो खुद ही करो. There's
Yeah.
no other way. And so
And
yeah,
you're
then
and
I
you're like a full adult at this point. Like you're also not a child, so
was
you've
24.
seen
Yeah,
a lot of shit at this
yeah.
point.
I had to basically, when mom got ill, when she was diagnosed, that was when I had to grow up instantly.
Really quickly. Yeah. Yep.
Really quickly. So I grew up and decided that, okay, I was like, all right, I guess I just have to figure this out by myself. I did it, and then obviously when I started to understand, okay, this is how you talk to people here. This is how people are. Obviously, it's a whole new different.
Hmm.
Karachi is so different from Punjab,
Hmm.
not just for the fact of the provincial differences, but just
Yeah.
culturally,
The environment is fully different.
the environment. People here are very like, people here are constantly hustling.
Yeah.
They just want to make money. Everybody wants to make money. So it felt like, okay, this is what makes sense for me right now. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to stick to this.
Okay.
लेकिन हाँ, obviously उसके बाद I mean, Karachi wasn't kind to me. अब जाके थोड़ा बहुत अच्छा हो रहा
Hmm.
है since August.
Okay. Is that so how does the YouTube thing figure into that? Because you start out as a musician,
Yeah,
then Beach May, you're doing visual campaigns. So there's like a bit of like you're a
yeah,
model almost,
yeah,
or
yeah,
actually.
kinda, yeah.
And then you start your YouTube channel started a while ago, like 4 or 5 years
Yeah,
ago. You've
yeah,
been posting on and
yeah,
off.
yeah,
But I see now that over the past 3, 4, or maybe more months, if I'm getting the timeline wrong, I have no sense of time now. Um, you've been posting more sort of regularly, more like proper
kind of, yeah,
insights into your life. And
yeah,
then recently, पिछले एक दो महीने में, you've been doing a lot of work or just hanging out a lot with Alina, Momina, Umar.
yeah, yeah.
So how's that journey been? And also, one thing I wanted to talk to you about, which I don't see other people doing as much, but perhaps that's because you're a bit older, you've seen a few more things. you've also been very vocal, or at least there also seems to be some sort of always reference to like haters in your
Yeah.
posts and stuff,
Yeah.
which other people don't do, and that I don't think because they don't get hate, because that's not who we are as people. We hate everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you talk about it. So just how's that journey been overall, the
So
YouTube journey?
YouTube initially, I decided to start YouTube back in 2017
Hmm.
when, Strong was still very much hip and hopping, and then I
Sure.
did a collaboration for Cornetto with Khurram by Josh, the band
Okay.
Josh.
Yep.
And so लोगों को ये लग रहा था कि जी मारिया बहुत एक सुपरस्टार बन गई है और मारिया बहुत एक एक्सपेंसिव जिंदगी गुजार रही है,
Hmm.
क्योंकि बिल्कुल नहीं था केस। जब मैं इस्लामाबाद में रही थी अपने फैमिली के साथ, हम एक पोर्शन में रहते थे और हमने पूरी अपनी जिंदगियां इसी तरह चलाई है। वी आर वेरी मिनिमलिस्टिक पीपल, वी डोंट लाइक एक्सट्रावेगेंट बूजी थिंग्स, लाइक
Sure.
हम we're not made that way,
Hmm.
our mom, my mother didn't raise my brother and I like that, and my dad also, he's a very simple man, he's super down to earth, he's not in like that thing कि like हमारे पास एक अच्छी गाड़ी होनी चाहिए, बाहर से घर अच्छा दिखना चाहिए।
Hmm.
No,
Hmm.
he's like
Hmm.
भाई छत है, खाना है,
Yeah.
बस fit है.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show people that, bro, what you guys are thinking is not the case. Like, this is my life. मैं अफगानी बर्गर खाती हूँ ठेले से, like नीचे बाहर ठेले कहते हैं, क्या कहते हैं?
ठेला कहते हैं, yeah.
हाँ,
Yeah.
like like that's I also eat street food. I also walk. मैं भी cab, तब तो मतलब करीम बस नया नया शुरू हुआ था, मैं फिर भी I was calling taxis and sitting down in cabs and shit. That was the whole point. फिर उसके बाद when brands started approaching saying कि हम आपकी ये video sponsor कर लेंगे ये वो, I was like, no man, I don't want this to be another source of income. Like, that's just added stress
Right.
for no reason.
Right.
This is just a place where I just want to show people that, oh look, this is my life and this is what it is.
Hmm.
Then I stopped making vlogs for the year of 2019,
Hmm.
because that was when I was still figuring out shit, just trying to figure out is tarah idhar kaise aaun, all that jazz. So I just took a break for a year. I restarted recently during the quarantine phase of our lockdown, when everybody was just home.
Hmm.
I was like, okay, I need to do something and I need to do it fast because I need to keep my mind distracted and I want to polish my video editing skills and
Yeah.
like my production skills. So wahan se phir shuru hua. That's when I started talking about living alone. That's when I started talking about, just general shit, crying in front of the camera, dyeing
Hmm.
my hair, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And then I reached out to Momina. I reached out last year because I was like, "Yo, you're fucking cool, man. Like,
Hmm.
can we be friends?" And then she was like, "What? No, you're cool. Can
Hmm.
can we be friends?" So I was like on and off in touch with Momina, and like these guys are much younger than me, but they don't make me feel it because they're
Right.
so mature for their age. It's almost like
Yep.
they remind me of myself when I was 18, if that makes any sense. I was like, yep, I was exactly like that. Cool, nice. Ye mat karna, please. Varna ye, like, so I'm also, they call me mom,
Yeah.
and they're like, you're like a big sister slash mom slash friend.
Hmm.
So then, and then Alina kind of just came into the picture as well. She blew up. I started following Alina on YouTube when she was still like 2,000 subscribers. I was like, yo, this girl is I was so impressed by her narration skills. I was like, wow, iske saath kaam karna hai. Is
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
support karna hai usko, to kis tarah kare. So I reached out to her on Instagram. She freaked out. She was like, oh my god, I know you. Oh my god, thanks, man. Famous. So yeah, we just sort of like got together. We the three of us sat down one day and just met up for coffee and food. And then I was like, guys, just come over. Let's just make a video. Let me like feed you guys vegan food. Like, let's see how you'd like it, because they had never had vegan food before. So they came over and I fed them. That video blew up. And then it just sort of became instantly a regular thing. I was just constantly finding them at my house every time. Like finding in the sense like it was always like one thing led to another, and I'd be like, yo, what are you guys doing? Come over.
Yeah.
Or yo, and then now it's become such a cute little group of ours where they ask me for advice and I've asked them for advice, because I learned so much in terms of content creation and video editing and this and that. and like, okay, what are the kids watching these days? Like, what kind of music do you guys listen to, or do the people like you think would enjoy like Istan
Sure.
ye wo? There's a lot of give and take, and
Hmm.
they really look up to me. I really look up to them, and it's a great relationship that we've sort of developed. But obviously, there is a huge age gap,
They're all
which
what, late teens, early 20s, or late
yeah,
teens?
late teens. Umar is 21,
Okay.
but he acts like a 17-year-old.
Right.
But there's nothing wrong in that. मैं उसको ये भी
Sure.
कहती हूँ that there's nothing wrong in that, because like it takes time. जब मैं 21 की थी, मैं भी थोड़ी बहुत मतलब I thought I was the shit. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. When I was 21, I was like, fuck y'all bitches. I know what I am worth of.
Yeah.
But like, no, I was dumb, idiot.
Every
So
5 years, you gain
yeah,
in
yeah,
age.
yeah, yeah,
The past 5 years seem like 15 years ago. Like you're
yeah,
like, I don't
yes,
believe I was doing this, and it's just five
yeah.
years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, I
it's
think 2 years ago, what was I doing? And I freak
yeah,
out. I'm like, wow. Like, I just
yeah,
like start to shake. But yeah, so that's like the whole bond that I have with them. And for me, YouTube is just like a little place where I can just, no filter. You'll rarely ever see me put makeup on my YouTube videos.
sure.
Because I'm like, bhai, nahi karna ye glam sham. Like, like I'm just
That
not.
does seem to be when I spoke to Momina. That was one of the things that made her famous. Is not something that she was consciously trying to do with Momina, and then there's the other girl Haya, and Irfan put us onto them, and he's like, these guys are like super natural people. And when you speak to them, it's like, yeah, I'm in my room. I made a video talking about what I did in my room, and that's it. It's not
That's
like
it.
I jumped off a building and then I put this amazing screen grab as the thumbnail, or ye sari games hui hain to make this video. It's just so natural. um
Yeah,
and it makes sense then that that's what you saw from their vibe as well.
absolutely. I mean, it was incredible. I really enjoyed it.
Hmm.
And now we've sort of just become like this little family, like these guys really, they look up to me in a way that like they see that I live on my own. तो उनको
Yep.
मेरी struggles का like full on पता है कि
Yeah.
okay, 20th onwards Maria loses her shit because she has to pay rent, which is
Hmm.
like any adult
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
जो महीने के जो आखिरी 10 दिन होते हैं वो crunch होता है कि यार fuck, okay, no, I can't go there. Kareem
Salad
ke paise
days. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like, I'm not gonna lie. Like during the summer this year around, I lost weight drastically,
Hmm.
because I just didn't have money for food.
Right.
For like 1 month, I was living by myself, uh, and I was just like, it's not that I didn't have money for food. I was too scared to spend money on food, because I was like, no, 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 ये उस पे काम आ सकता है, ये मैं side
Yeah.
पे रखती हूँ.
Yeah.
No, no, no. So like आपको खुद पता नहीं है कि आप क्या कर रहे हो? Like you don't realize that you're not eating. You need to eat. Eating food is not a luxury, it's a necessity. I didn't
Necessity. Yeah.
realize
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So it resulted in me losing a lot of weight. And like when we were able to travel, I road tripped with a family friend to Islamabad. And when I got home, my brother and my dad were like, you need to eat, girl.
Yeah.
And I'm like, sorry, I didn't realize that I lost that much weight. And when I checked, I was like 44 kilos, which is nothing.
44. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I know men and women are sort of built different, and 44, I don't remember when I was 44.
No, I was severely underweight.
Yeah.
Severely underweight.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, to drop from like 50 kilos to 44, it was very, very,
Yeah, and
so
even 50 is not like a lot. So it's not
for
like you
my
went
height,
from,
it's okay, I
yeah, it's
guess.
not like you were overweight to
No, I was
start
never
with.
overweight.
Yeah.
No, no, not at all. So just imagine like normal
Yeah.
weight, वो
Yeah. वो
मतलब
भी
और
कम हो
गिरा.
गया. Yeah.
मतलब एक point पे like my cheekbones were so prominent. And I
Hmm.
never knew I had prominent cheekbones till like if you go to a couple of my previous posts on Instagram or my videos for example, you can tell. And that's how I realized, I was like, oh shit, man, I need to eat.
Yeah.
So then I
Yeah.
started eating a lot of junk food to gain that weight back.
Okay. Well, great. No, I think so now I guess we're sort of towards the end of everything I had to ask, I think. Uh, what what are you looking to do for the future now? There's a bit that I haven't talked to you about because I think that's a
Ah,
long conversation.
we
So
can do
we'll
part two of this interview
sure, yeah,
for
or I
that.
have something I'll talk to you about after we stop recording. But
Okay.
that's sort of like about the music industry and how things go in Pakistan. It's not like nothing. It's an agenda of mine I've been pushing. But so what do you now that you're here and you did the thing with Gul Ahmed and your YouTube thing is picking up and um, you're still working on music. You said you were recording, spending a lot of time in the studio.
Yeah.
What's 2020 is almost over. We sort of lost a year. The world just lost a year. Um,
I feel like I
what's
gained a lot
you
during
did
this
you
year.
did really well. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people made a lot of progress too. But
Yeah.
what's 2021 looking like?
Hopefully I'll have the album out by then.
Okay.
Um, the album that I've been working on throughout this year
Hmm.
and a little bit of last. A couple more music stuff. I just want to keep throwing out music.
Sure.
Um, maybe potentially start a business. I don't know.
Okay.
It's in the works.
Everyone's doing merch.
The thing is, well, merch is like not even a business for me. I'm doing merch. I am actually working on my merchandise, so yeah, that'll also come out.
Yeah.
But no, it won't be. Merch is like a token of thanks, I guess you could say.
Sure.
But like,
Okay.
give me money so that you can get that.
Yeah.
But no, but I'm thinking like a long-term business.
Okay.
Look, man, in 3 years, no, in 4 years, I'm gonna be 30 years old.
Mm,
I don't want to be 30 and still like running after people to give me
sure.
my payments. I want to have my own business.
Things be stable.
Hopefully, have a kid by then, maybe. I don't know, or plan to have a kid by then.
Sure.
So that's why I feel like now, like 2021, I want to start this year with good things and good vibes, just like everybody else. ताकि कोई तो planning हो. So 21 will probably be lots of music, more collaborative work, hopefully more brand endorsements, because that's where the money's at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And definitely start something, some sort of a business. I'm working on it. I'm still figuring out what I want to do, but
Okay.
that's big adult things. I feel
Big adult
so
things.
adult
Yeah.
type.
Nahi, theek hai. So I think at least, if not before, but when that business is up and running, how about you come back and we talk about it?
Let's do it. I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
Okay.
Hopefully soon.
I think that's it then. People, if you want to find her, you know who she is. You'll find her on, just put her name in, and she's on Instagram. She's already on your Instagram and her YouTube.
Yeah.
Your music is great. You honestly seem like a good person, and hopefully things keep going upwards for you.
Thank you.
You seem to be
Thank
in a
you
good
so much.
place, and it's good to see that. Chalo ji.
Thank you so much.
ठीक है. I'm at the mall over. Rizwan Sir Khail are doing stuff. We'll be back at some point. Yeah, keep your pod, group account. We'll talk to you later. We're going to stop recording now. Okay, Jimari, thank you for coming. Bye, guys. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.